He used to bully me in college, but that night, everything between us changed. The rain-slicked streets of Manhattan gleamed under the sodium glow of street lamps, the kind of late autumn downpour that turned the city into a blurred watercolor of neon and regret. I stood there in the doorway of the alumni lounge at NYU, the bass thump of some forgotten indie track vibrating through my chest like a second heartbeat. My name is Alex Harper, 28, high school English teacher from Brooklyn, the guy who once hid in bathroom stalls to avoid the storm clouds named Jordan Hale. And there he was, across the room, laughing with a cluster of old frat brothers, his broad shoulders filling out a tailored navy suit like he owned the damn skyline. Our eyes locked. Time didn't slow. It shattered. His laugh died mid-breath, that easy charisma cracking like thin ice. Jordan Hale, the golden boy who'd shoved me against lockers, mocked my stutter in freshman lit class, called me fairy loud enough for the whole quad to hear. Back then, he'd been 18, all lean muscle and unchecked rage, hiding whatever demons clawed at him behind a smirk and a football jersey. Now, 28, Wall Street shark, the kind of man who closed deals over 18-year-old scotch and woke up to views of the Hudson from his Tribeca loft. But in that split second, I saw it, the flicker of recognition, the ghost of shame in those storm-blue eyes. I turned to bolt, the scent of overbrewed coffee and cheap cologne hitting me like a wave. But the crowd surged, alumni toasting 10-year reunions with plastic cups sloshing red wine. A hand clamped my shoulder. Warm, firm. His Alex? Jordan's voice rumbled low, like gravel under tires, carrying the faint twang of his Texas roots he'd never quite scrubbed off despite the years in the city. Holy shit, it's you. I shrugged him off, my pulse hammering in my ears, the room's chatter fading to a dull roar. Yeah, it's me. My words came out steady, but inside, my stomach twisted like a wet rag. Why had I even come? To prove I was over it? To stare down the past like some therapy brochure bullshit? The air between us hummed with unspoken accusations, thick as the humidity clinging to my skin from the storm outside. He stepped closer, invading my space the way he used to, but this time there was no shove, no sneer, just a hesitant lean, his cologne, sandalwood and citrus, mixing with the rain on his coat. Look, I didn't expect this. You look good. Teaching, right? I heard. Heard. From who? The universe's cruel joke? I forced a nod, the bitter tang of irony on my tongue. Yeah, kids these days, they don't bully half as creatively as you did. The words slipped out sharper than I meant, and his jaw tightened, a muscle ticking like a countdown. Fair, he muttered, rubbing the back of his neck, that old tell when he'd been caught cheating on a test. His fingers were longer now, manicured, but the calluses from high school weights lingered, rough against his skin. Alex, I was an asshole. Worse than that. I know it. The lounge pulsed around us. Clinking glasses, a burst of laughter from the bar, the sizzle of rain against the window panes, but it all blurred. I wanted to walk away, let the door swing shut on this fever dream. But his eyes held mine, not with the old mockery, but something raw, pleading, like he'd been carrying the weight of those years too, heavier than any deal he'd ever closed. Come on, he said, voice dropping to a near whisper, the kind that cut through the noise like a knife. One drink. Let me buy you one, for old time's sake. Or, to bury them. I should have said no, but the storm outside howled, and the one inside me raged louder. Fine, I breathed, the word tasting like surrender. One drink. We pushed through the crowd to the bar, elbows brushing in the crush, sending sparks up my arm I hadn't felt since college. Nights alone in my dorm, heart pounding over stolen glances at guys in the gym showers, terrified of what it meant. Jordan ordered neat whiskeys, the bartender's pour glugging like a reluctant confession. He slid the glass over, our fingers grazing, and damn if that didn't jolt me like live wire. To ghosts, he toasted, clinking his glass against mine, the amber liquid catching the low light like trapped fireflies. I sipped, the burns sliding down my throat, warming the chill that had settled in my bones. Ghosts, I echoed, the word hanging heavy. We talked then, halting at first, surface shit about jobs, the city chewing people up and spitting them out polished. He was killing it at Goldman, climbing ladders slick with ambition, but his laugh rang hollow when he said it, eyes darting to the floor like he was measuring escape routes. And you? He asked, leaning on the bar, close enough I could see the faint scar above his lip from that time he accidentally elbowed me during a hallway scuffle. Teaching poetry to delinquents. Bet you're good at it. You always had that way with words. I snorted, the whiskey loosening the knot in my chest. Flattery? From you? That's new. But there was no bite left. Curiosity gnawed instead. Why the change? What had carved the cruelty out of him? He shrugged, swirling his drink, ice clinking softly like distant wind chimes. Therapy. Coming out. All that jazz. The words dropped casual, but his grip tightened on the glass, knuckles whitening. Coming out. My brain short-circuited. Jordan Hale, king of the jocks, poster boy for straight-laced frat life. Gay? You're shitting me. My voice cracked, a laugh bubbling up unbidden, sharp and disbelieving. His eyes met mine, steady now, the blue depths swirling with storms I'd never mapped. Nope. Took me years to admit it, even to myself. Back in college, I was scared shitless, lashing out at the one guy who made me feel off balance. He paused, breath hitching, the air between us thickening like fog rolling off the East River. You, Alex. It was always you. The room spun, the chatter a distant hum, drowned by the roar in my ears. Me? The target? The punchline? Heat flooded my face, a mix of fury and something dangerously like longing. The kind I'd buried under lesson plans and late-night grading. You bullied me because you liked me. The words tasted absurd, but his nod was slow, deliberate, regret etching lines around his mouth I'd never noticed before. Yeah, he admitted, voice rough as sandpaper on silk. I was a coward. Pushed you away so hard I convinced myself it was hate. But it wasn't. He set his glass down, the thud echoing like a gavel. I'm sorry. God, if I could go back. Outside, thunder grumbled, a low rumble that vibrated through the floorboards, mirroring the quake in my chest. I stared at him, really looked. The man he'd become, chiseled by time and truth, vulnerability cracking the armor. My hand trembled on the bar, inches from his, the whiskey's warmth nothing compared to the spark begging to ignite. The night pressed on, the reunion thinning as people paired off into cabs, but we lingered, words tumbling like the rain. Stories of botched dates, family dinners gone south, the ache of hiding in plain sight. He confessed the nights he'd driven past my old apartment building, too chicken shit to knock. I admitted the poems I'd burned, verses scrawled in margins about blue-eyed tormentors who haunted dreams. By midnight, the lounge emptied, chairs scraped back like sighs of relief. Walk with me, Jordan asked, holding out his coat against the drizzle. His voice a plea wrapped in velvet. I hesitated, rain pattering on the awning like impatient fingers. Then, yeah, we stepped into the storm, umbrellas be damned. The city a symphony of honks and splashes. Water soaked my shirt, cold against skin fever hot, but his arm brushed mine, steadying. We ended up at his loft, a mistake wrapped in inevitability. The elevator hummed upward, 30 floors of tension coiling tighter, his shoulder warm against mine in the mirrored box. You don't have to stay, he murmured as the doors dinged open, but his hand lingered on my elbow, thumb tracing a circle that sent shivers racing. The place was all exposed brick and floor-to-ceiling windows, the skyline a glittering apology beyond the glass. Rain lashed the panes, a rhythmic tattoo underscoring the silence. He poured more whiskey, straight from the bottle this time, passing it over with a half-smile that didn't reach his eyes. To second chances? I took a swig, the burn grounding me. Or to not fucking them up. We sat on the leather couch, knees inches apart, the air electric with what-ifs. Talk turned intimate, voices low. His first kiss with a guy in a Barcelona bar, fumbling and fierce. My quiet coming out to mom over lukewarm tea, her hugs smelling of lavender and acceptance. Then a pause, heavy. His gaze dropped to my lips, breath catching like a skipped heartbeat. "Alex," he whispered, leaning in, the space between us shrinking to nothing. Our mouths met. Tentative at first, a question in the press of lips, tasting of whiskey and rain and years unspoken. Then deeper, hungry, his hand cupping my jaw, fingers threading through damp hair, pulling me closer. Heat bloomed, a wildfire unchecked, clothes shed in a tangle, his shirt buttons popping like confessions, my hands mapping the ridges of his chest, scars from old fights and new truths. We tumbled to the rug, bodies aligning in a rhythm as old as longing, gasps mingling with the storm's fury. His touch was reverent, exploratory, fingers tracing my spine, lips brushing collarbones, eliciting moans that echoed off the walls. "I've wanted this," he groaned against my neck, voice wrecked. "Since that first goddamn class." Dawn crept in slow, painting the room in soft golds, the rain a gentle patter now. We lay entwined, sheets twisted around legs, his head on my chest, heartbeats sinking to mine. Regret lingered, a shadow in the light, but so did possibility, fragile, fierce. "It's not fixed," I murmured, fingers combing his hair, the scent of us, sweat and sandalwood, lingering like a promise. "The past." He lifted his head, eyes clear, unguarded. "No, but we can build from here." A kiss soft, sealing it. Outside, the city woke, horns blaring like fanfare, and for the first time I didn't flinch. He used to bully me in college, but that night, everything between us changed. Weeks blurred into a tentative rhythm, the kind that starts with coffee runs at dawn and stolen glances across crowded subway cars. Jordan's texts lit up my phone during parent-teacher conferences. Simple things like, "Thinking of that scar on your rib," or "Your laugh in the rain last night." Each one chipping at the walls I'd built higher than Brooklyn brownstones. But shadows clung, stubborn as the Hudson fog. I'd catch myself in mirrors, tracing the faint bruise from a locker slam years ago, wondering if forgiveness was a choice or a surrender. It hit hardest on a crisp Saturday, sunlight slanting through my classroom windows like accusatory fingers. I was grading essays, the scratch of red pen on paper a metronome to my unease, when my phone buzzed. "Jordan, alumni game today? Come watch me make an ass of myself on the field." A winking emoji, but beneath it the plea, "Face the past together." I shouldn't have gone. Tompkins Square Park buzzed with nostalgia. Alumni in faded purple jerseys tossing footballs under autumn leaves crunching like brittle memories. The air smelled of hot dogs from carts and fresh-cut grass, a whiff of childhood games twisted sour by time. I spotted him immediately, Jordan, mid-throw, his laugh booming as the ball spiraled true, muscles flexing under a worn NYUT that hugged his frame like a second skin. Our eyes met across the field, and he froze, the ball thumping forgotten in the dirt. A cheer went up, but he jogged over, sweat beading on his forehead, breath coming in visible puffs against the chill. "You came." His grin was boyish, unguarded, but his hand on my arm trembled slightly, betraying the mask. "Yeah," I said, shoving hands in my pockets to hide the shake in mine. "Figured I'd see if you've mellowed with age." He chuckled, low and warm. pulling me into a half-hug that lingered too long, his stubble grazing my temple, sending a shiver down my spine. Only for you. But as we walked to the bleachers, his old crew sauntered up. Big Mike with the beer gut, Tyler still sporting that buzz cut like a challenge. Their greetings were backslaps and bro hugs for Jordan. But for me, a pause, eyes narrowing in vague recognition. Harper, right? Mike boomed, clapping my shoulder hard enough to jolt. The quiet one from Lit. Man, you cleaned up nice. Jordan tensed beside me, his laugh forced. Yeah, Alex is killing it as a teacher now. Shaping minds and all that. Tyler smirked, swigging from a flask that glinted silver. Teacher, huh? Bet the kids love story time about fairy tales. The word hung, laced with old venom, and the park's chatter faded to a buzz in my ears. I stiffened, the familiar heat crawling up my neck, but Jordan stepped forward, voice steel-wrapped silk. Watch it, Ty. That's my boyfriend you're talking to. The word dropped like a gauntlet, casual yet carved in stone. Boyfriend. We danced around it, but there it was, public as the falling leaves. Tyler's flask paused midair, eyes widening. Mike coughed into his fist. The silence stretched, taut as a snapped string, until Jordan slung an arm around my waist, pulling me close, his warmth a shield. Game's starting. Catch you later. We peeled away, my heart thundering, a mix of pride and panic swirling like the wind whipping scarves. On the bleachers, thighs pressed together, his hand found mine, lacing fingers in a grip that said more than words. Sorry, he murmured, thumbs stroking my knuckles. Rough callous, a reminder of weights lifted and burdens shared. They're idiots. Always were. I leaned into him, the wooden seat creaking under our weight, the scent of his sweat, salty, alive, grounding me. You didn't have to. Yeah, I did. His breath ghosted my ear, warm against the cooling air. No more hiding. Not us. The game unfolded in bursts of color. Jerseys blurring, cheers erupting like fireworks, the thud of feet on turf echoing my pulse. Jordan played quarterback, barking calls with that old command, but now his glances flicked to me, winks hidden in the fray, each one a tether pulling me from the edge. When he scored, the crowd roared, but his eyes sought mine, triumphant, vulnerable, the boy who'd once destroyed now rebuilding. Halftime brought cold beers from a cooler, foam spilling sticky on hands, laughter bubbling freer. But as dusk crept in, shadows lengthening like doubts, Tyler cornered us by the sidelines, flask empty, eyes glassy. Boyfriend? Hale, you serious? Back in school, you were the one calling him. Shut up, Ty. Jordan's voice cracked like thunder, stepping between us, chest heaving. The air thickened, charged with the ozone scent of impending rain, leaves skittering across the grass like fleeing thoughts. Tyler sneered, swaying. Come on, man. We all knew he was, and you hated it. Or was that just cover? My stomach dropped, the world tilting, old wounds ripping open with surgical precision. Jordan's face paled, jaw clenching, but he didn't swing, didn't need to. It was cover, he admitted, voice raw, carrying over the field's murmurs. For me, I was terrified, pushed him away because I couldn't face it. But Alex, he's the best thing I ever almost lost. So yeah, boyfriend, deal with it. Tyler blinked, deflating like a punctured tire, muttering something about whatever before stumbling off. The silence that followed was deafening, broken only by a distant siren wailing through the streets. Jordan turned to me, eyes searching, stormy with unshed tears. I mean it, every word. I nodded, throat tight, pulling him into a kiss right there. Fierce, unapologetic, tasting of beer and bravery. The field lights flickered on, casting us in golden halos, and for a moment, the past dissolved in the press of his lips. That night, back in my cramped Brooklyn walk-up, We made love slow, deliberate, candles guttering on the nightstand, their flicker dancing shadows across his skin. His hands roamed reverent, mapping freckles like constellations, breaths mingling in sighs that spoke of healing. "I love you," he whispered against my collarbone, the words of vow etched in sweat-slicked air. I held him closer, heart aching with the weight of it. "Love you too." Outside, rain began again, a soft lullaby washing the city clean. But peace is fleeting in stories like ours. Monday brought a call from my principal. Rumors swirling from the alumni grapevine, whispers of that teacher and the Wall Street guy. Concern laced her voice, but so did caution, the kind that came with budgets and boards. I hung up, staring at stacks of ungraded papers, the room suddenly too small, walls closing like locker doors. Jordan arrived that evening, takeout bags swinging, his smile faltering at my expression. "What's wrong?" He set the tie down, steam curling like question marks, pulling me onto the couch, his arms a harbor. I spilled it, the gossip, the fear of scrutiny, the way old scars itched under fresh ink. He listened, chin resting on my head, fingers tracing lazy circles on my back, the fabric of my shirt whispering under his touch. "We'll face it," he said finally, voice steady as the subway rumble below. "Together. I've got your back, Alex. Always." We ate cross-legged on the floor, pad thai tangy on tongues, laughter easing the tension as he recounted a botched client pitch. His impressions spot on, drawing snorts from me. But later, in bed, his body curled around mine. I lay awake, the ceiling fan whirring like worries spinning endless. The conflicts deepened midweek, a package arriving at school. Anonymous, heavy with implication. Inside, dog-eared photos from college, me huddled in corners, Jordan looming triumphant. A note scrawled in block letters. "Some things don't change. Watch your back, fairy." Ice flooded my veins, the lounge's coffee scent turning to bile in memory. I crumpled it, but the damage seeped, poisoning the joy we'd clawed from ruins. Jordan's rage when I showed him was a quiet storm. Fists clenched white, eyes blazing as he paced my living room, floorboards creaking under his weight. "Who the fuck?" He stopped, pulling me close, his embrace fierce, heartbeat thundering against my cheek. "I'm calling the cops. This ends now." But cops meant exposure, headlines in tabloids hungry for scandal. Bully turned lover? Wall Street scandal? My career teetered, kids' faces flashing. Wide-eyed teens grappling with their own identities, trusting me to guide without shattering. "Wait," I pleaded, voice muffled in his shirt, the cotton damp with my tears. "Just wait." He stilled, breath shuddering out in a sigh that ruffled my hair. "Okay, but no more hiding. We tell our stories first." That night, we drafted an email to the alumni board. Co-written, voices overlapping in the glow of my laptop screen, his Texas drawl softening my Brooklyn edge. Honesty poured out. The bullying, the regret, the love forged in fire, sent with a click that echoed like fate's door slamming shut. Responses trickled in. Support from unlikely corners, silence from others. But the weight lifted, inch by inch, as we walked Central Park the next dawn, mist rising from the reservoir like exhaled secrets. His hand in mine, public now, drew stares but also nods, a quiet solidarity from strangers who'd walked similar paths. Yet the harasser struck again, a late-night call to Jordan's office, voice distorted. "Tell your little teacher to back off, or everyone knows what a fraud you are." Fraud. The word burrowed, dredging doubts. Was this real, or just another mask? Confrontation came at a dimly lit bar in the village, tip from a mutual friend pinning Tyler as the source, his flask habit a giveaway. We arrived together, the jukebox crooning Springsteen, gravel in his voice mirroring the tension coiling in my gut. Tyler hunched at a corner booth, eyes bloodshot, nursing a pint that sloshed with every gesture. "You sent those?" Jordan accused, sliding into the seat opposite, me flanking him, our knees a united front under the scarred wood table. Tyler sneered, but it wavered, alcohol stripping the bravado. "So what? You two deserve it," acting like some fairy tale romance. "You're a disgrace, Hale." The bar's hum faded, patrons oblivious, the clink of glasses a mocking toast. Jordan leaned forward, voice low thunder. "Disgrace? I was, to you, to myself. But Alex, he's grace. And if you touch him again." Tyler lunged, chair scraping like a snarl. But I was faster, grabbing his wrist, the flask clattering to the floor in a puddle of amber regret. "Enough," I said, steady despite the tremor, years of quiet endurance fueling the fire. "You're the one stuck in college. Move on." He deflated, slumping back, tears streaking his face in the neon glow. I envied you, both of you, hiding shit I couldn't face. A confession, broken, the air shifting like storm clouds parting. We left him there, the door jingling shut behind us, night air crisp with possibility. Jordan pulled me into an alley, walls damp with graffiti poetry, kissing me deep, desperate, tongues tangling, hands fisting shirts, the city's pulse sinking to ours. "You're my hero," he gasped, forehead to mine, breaths mingling hot and hurried. Laughter bubbled up, freeing. Says the quarterback. Love deepened in the aftermath, roots sinking through concrete hearts. Holidays loomed, Thanksgiving at my mom's, her kitchen redolent of turkey and pie crust, Jordan charming her with stories of Texas barbecues. His hand under the table a secret anchor. His family was harder. Video call across miles, his father's gruff silence thawing to a nod, mother's eyes softening over pixelated smiles. But the real test brewed in winter's bite, a job offer for me in Boston, head of English at a progressive academy, a dream dangling like icicles. Jordan's firm dangled promotions tying him to the city, our lives a tug-of-war across state lines. We argued in his loft, snow blanketing the windows like unresolved words, the radiator hissing like frustration. "Go," he urged, pacing, voice cracking on the edges. "This is your shot." "And leave you," I shot back, standing, the rug soft under bare feet, his eyes wild with fear. "After everything?" He stopped, cupping my face, thumbs brushing cheeks rough with stubble. "We make it work. Weekends, calls till dawn. I love you too much to clip your wings." Tears stung, hot tracks down my skin. "I can't lose you. You won't." A kiss, salt-tanged, sealing promises in the quiet patter of flakes. The decision hung, a sword over silk, until New Year's Eve, fireworks exploding over the harbor. Crowds cheering as we stood on his balcony, chilled fingers laced. "Boston," I whispered, the word a leap, "but only if you promise visits that smell like home." He grinned, pulling me close, coats muffling heartbeats. "Every weekend, and summers in the Cape." Resolution bloomed, fierce as the bursts above, our bodies swaying to the city's roar. Back inside, we rang in the year slow, champagne fizzing on tongues, love-making tender, exploratory, his whispers of forever tracing skin like braille. Spring unfurled, green shoots through cracks, mirroring us. I packed boxes in my apartment, Jordan hauling them with grunts and jokes, sweat beading on brows, laughter echoing off bare walls. The move was chaos, U-Haul rumbling through tunnels, his hand on my thigh steadying nerves. Boston welcomed with harbor winds and brick charm. My new office stacked with books smelling of fresh ink. Jordan flew up weekly, plain hum a prelude to reunions, dinners and dive bars, walks along the Charles, his arm around me under star-pricked skies. But distance gnawed, calls laced with longing, his voice tinny over lines. Miss your coffee breath in the morning. Video nights turned intimate, screens fogging with breaths. But it wasn't enough. Craving the weight of him, the solidity. The breaking point came in June, a conference in Philly, neutral ground. We met at the station, rushing into embraces, lips crashing in the bustle, strangers blurring. Hotel room became sanctuary, sheets rumpling under urgency. His body a map rediscovered, moans swallowed in the hush of closed curtains. Lying spent, his head on my chest, heartbeat lulling like waves, he murmured, "Quit my job, transfer east if I have to." I stilled, fingers pausing in his hair. "Don't, not for me. For us." Eyes earnest, blue as summer seas. "Wall Street's a machine. You're my heart." Tears pricked, joy sharp. "Then let's build here. Together." He took the leap, resignation letter crisp. New firm in Cambridge courting him with views of the river. We hunted apartments, footsteps echoing in empties, laughter bouncing off hardwoods. The one we chose, 3rd floor, bay windows framing sunrises, kitchen big enough for 2. Summer solstice marked it. Moving day sweat and beer, boxes unpacked to Springsteen on the stereo, his voice gravelly in harmony. That night, on the fire escape, city lights twinkling below, he dropped to one knee, ring glinting simple silver. "Marry me, Alex. Rewrite our story." Heart swelling, I pulled him up, kissing fierce. Yes, 1,000 times. The year wheeled on, engagements whispered to families, rings exchanged in quiet ceremonies. Mine on his finger, a vow etched eternal. Wedding planning wove stress with sweetness. Tux fittings where his eyes devoured me. Cake tastings dissolving in frosting smeared laughs. Vows came under autumn oaks, small circle of friends. Mom dabbing eyes, his sister toasting with Texas twang. "I do," we echoed. Rings sliding warm, sealing fractures into strength. Life settled, a tapestry of routines. Mornings tangled in sheets, his coffee strong, mine milky. Evenings grading papers while he reviewed briefs, feet entwined on the couch. Conflicts arose, petty, human. His late nights clashing my early rises, arguments flaring hot then cooling to make up sex, apologies whispered in dark. But deeper trials tested. His father's illness, a call shattering a lazy Sunday, Jordan's voice breaking on the line. We flew south, hospital air antiseptic sharp. His hand crushing mine in waiting rooms, beeps a metronome to fear. Bedside vigils, his dad's hand frail in his, eyes meeting mine with new respect. Forgiveness unspoken. Grief came swift, funeral under wide skies, dirt clumping on boots, Jordan's sobs muffled in my shoulder, rain mingling with tears. Homeward, we healed slow, nights of silence broken by stories, his laughter returning like dawn. A year on, adoption papers signed, little Jamie, 5, wide-eyed with questions, curls like Jordan's. Fatherhood unfolded messy. Spilled Cheerios crunching underfoot, bedtime tales stumbling over tongues, but joy in his first daddies, echoing halls. Through it all, the past whispered, but we shouted back. Therapy sessions unpacking crates, anniversaries toasting growth. One night, post-dinner chaos, Jamie asleep, we danced in the kitchen to old records, his cheek on my shoulder, breath warm. Everything changed that night, he murmured, swaying slow. I smiled, holding tight, for the better, and in the quiet, with the world outside humming on, we knew. Love wasn't absence of storm, but dancing through it, unbroken.